Hey there, good evening fellow friends and rock lovers. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show that's dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So this is the show that I do on Sunday nights called Ben's Album Challenge. For those of you not familiar with this, I have a subscriber. His name is Ben. He sends me an album once a week for me to listen to and give my opinion on. And the only issue he had was to pick a favorite song, so I will do that as well. So the album we're doing today is from a band called White Wing. It's their debut album. In fact, it's their only album, which is sad because this may be the best album he's given to me to date. Certainly it's among my favorites of the ones he's given me, for sure. It debuted in 1975. Debuted is not really a word. Debuted in 1975. So a little bit, I'm just go over the album in general first before I go through the tracks. Definitely falls well within the American progressive rock scene from that time period. Like it fits in with Kansas and ELO and Styx and Journey of that time period. Fits well in with those groups easily. It does have there are some bits here that are more classical, like classical type of mixture with their progressive rock, which is more of a European thing or more of a British thing, I guess is probably a better term. American rock, progressive rock, tends to come from the kind of jazzy elements that we get here, jazz fusion and jazz and stuff like that. I'm hearing that in this album. I'm hearing some, first of all, I think the vocalist is fantastic. Really adds a kind of atmosphere to the whole album. His vocals are strong. Now, I don't know if it's just one guy singing, but it sounds like the same voice that I'm hearing throughout the album. So I'm assuming that's what it is. I hadn't looked up the band members. The only thing I had looked up is to see if they had more than one album, because I wasn't sure if this was the debut album or there was a title to this album. So that's the reason why I know that they only did the one album. Other elements, there's some really good guitaring on here and some variety of guitar. He has some lead guitar, electric guitar leads. He's got some very good riffing. He's got a classical bit that he does. Yeah, strong guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, all good for the point and used appropriately. I think their music is well orchestrated. By that I mean it's well put together. Like it flows. It's a nice flow to it. The lyrics are good. I think they're interesting and thought-provoking, and I can tell when the lyrics are good because I'm listening to what he's saying. Some I just dismiss. I don't even care what they're saying. But in this case, I was listening to him. The music is varied quite a bit, but it all flows. Like there's no track that's kind of, you say, why is this in here? It doesn't belong here at all. There's none of that at all. But the tracks aren't exactly the same throughout the song. Like it doesn't have a solid song from the beginning to end, a sound that goes like that. It doesn't have that. It's got some variety here, which is quite nice, and it flows very nice. I hear, I find that this band kind of does remind me of Styx, not in the sense that they sound like Styx, but in the sense that I hear a lot of elements that are similar. And they've got some excellent kind of choruses that mix well with the middle lyrics parts. So anyways, I can't think of anything else I want to say about that, but so we're going to get on with the tracks. Okay, so the opening track is probably my favorite. The opening track or the closing track, which are basically the same song with different parts. So what they do is they do part of the opening track, which is called Hansa Cygnus, and then they end the last track, track 10, which is Hansa Aquila. So it's kind of an opening and closing, but the same basic track. And I love this song. I think it's fantastic. It gets high marks from me here. It's got some really good harmony vocals and gives that kind of angelic feeling to it. It's kind of a dreamlike opening. You feel like you're almost entering somebody's dream or somebody's subconscious and feeling their feelings. That's the I guess the best way I could put it. This song could fit on Genesis Trespass, in that it has that same kind of Trespass feeling. I mean, the vocals are very different. Doesn't sound like Peter Gabriel, and the instrumentation's different as well, but the feeling is there. It's a melancholy song, of course. The acoustic guitar and the piano. Yeah, that's the other instrument. I was trying to think of what the other instrument was. So there's a piano and there's an acoustic guitar bit towards the end of this first segment of this song that really give the atmosphere of a forlorn, melancholy song. Yeah, so I really like this track a lot. Just fantastic, just great. So the next track is called Patent Leather, very different track, but still falls within the same kind of range, except for the vocals are really good. The guitar has some of that real good riffing effects that you tend to like in harder rock songs. The lyrics, of course, are interesting, and you're going to find that throughout this album. I found myself listening to the lyrics a lot. The bass adds that kind of atmosphere that goes with this song, that kind of heavy, upbeat tempo. Yeah, it's a much heavier track. And there is a part in here where he does this piano bit, which is very jazzy, like a really jazzy piano, which it doesn't take away from the song at all. I find that it fits in fairly well with the song. As most of the stuff they do, I find, with some groups when they do it, it sounds like they were doing a song and then threw this in and then went back to the song. You don't get that here. It fits in nicely. It flows nicely. The next song is called Slave. This one opens with the guitar. That's what I was trying to think of how to say it. Some nice special vocals here. I think it's a good kind of range. I like the drum background. I like the guitar riff. It kind of has this kind of solo that goes on throughout the song. Periodically, you'll hear it more than you won't, but it goes from the beginning pretty much to the end of the song, and it kind of meanders, I guess, but it's in the background, so it's kind of interesting. And there's a little bit of organ added here at some point during the song as well. So a good track. I liked it. Wait Till Tomorrow is the next track. Forlorn guitar solo at the beginning, just really kind of melancholy, if you want to use that word as well. The piano and the bass here both kind of bring that kind of melancholy feel to this song. It's a sad song, I think. That's my feel of it. It's not one of my favorite tracks on the album, but I don't dislike it. It's certainly, I only gave 6s twice. This was one of them, and the song before it. Everything else was above that. The White Ship is the next song. Really, really good track. Lively guitars, some really guitar sounds that you get during that period of time, like really, atmospheric guitar, I guess is what you might want to call it. The lyrics are good and strong on the song, and the vocals fit well throughout the whole song. So it's a really solid track. A White Ship, it's called. The next song is called Harbinger. heavy song, pretty heavy, dark, but upbeat at the same time. The point is this: the song is dark, but the guitars are somewhat upbeat, which is kind of strange. It's got this kind of heavy blues guitar that opens the song as well. It's great off of the how do you say it? Anyways, the basses are upbeat as well. So there's a lot of really solid stuff on this particular track as well. Then we get into A Little Levity and Satire Salute. This is kind of the song that kind of is the upbeat song on the album, I guess. Is the kind of, they've had a fair number of kind of melancholy songs at this point, and this song is not like that. So it's got a kind of funky. So this is the song that really is different from everything else that's gone before it. It's got a real funky beat with the vocals, the drums, the bass, guitar, and everything. Add in this kind of funky beat to the song. So that's part of the song, and then the other part of the song has this kind of how do you say it? Hard rock feel, similar sound to what you might get from the Doobie Brothers. That kind of riff that you get a lot from the Doobie Brothers. So you got that, and you got this funky beat. So the funky beat goes for a bit, and then this Doobie Brothers sound comes in, and then that funky beat again, and then the Doobie Brothers sound. So it's kind of like, it's back and forth, but it's a really different song from the rest of the album, I think. But it's got the same kind of vocals, and there's some jazzy piano right at the end as well, so you're getting a lot of stuff on this song. But it doesn't sound like it doesn't belong on the album. It fits in with the album because of the vocals. I think the vocals really tie a lot of these songs together and give sorry, I forgot I was holding my hat. Give this album its continuity. I think the vocals and the guitar really give the continuity to the album, so you don't get that kind of feeling like it doesn't belong. Now the next song really is if you have to pick one song on the album that really seems like it's out of place a bit, and that's this song, because it's just a classical guitar interlude bit, reminiscent of what you would hear on a lot of classical guitar bits, progressive rock albums when somebody would do one. It's not like Mood for the Day or it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Laguna Sunrise from Black Sabbath. It kind of it's kind of slow guitar, acoustic guitar bit like that. Yeah, it kind of feels like that kind of song, but it's a little bit more up tempo. So yeah, it's a great track. Maybe it doesn't fit on the album, but it's just a great interlude, I guess. Then you got the next song is called Executive Privilege, or is it? I'm just gonna have to look closer because I wrote it. I think it's Privilege. I think the song is called Executive Privilege. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Executive Privilege, and it's got some strong vocals on it. It's got this kind of backing vocals that are very Styx-like, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, the vocals sound like something you would get from Styx when you got one guy singing lead and the other guy's doing the backle. And in fact, the whole song kind of reminds me of the Crystal Ball album. It's got that kind of feel of that Crystal Ball type album. And you know what? I think those, if I'm mistaken, I think the Crystal Ball album was a '76 release, and this is a '75 release. So they're within the same range period. So it does have that feel about it. Very Styx-like song, anyways. And then, of course, it ends with the Hansa Aquila, which is just a continuation of the Hansa Cygnus, which was the first song. This is the last track. Very, very similar. It's just like a continuation of it. And it's probably my favorite track on the album. because this is the one that kind of reminds me of Trespass, although there's not really a lot of similar elements other than it's melancholy and it's quiet, which is something you get a lot of on Trespass. So yeah, just a fantastic album. It's to me, it's a shame that this group wasn't able to produce more albums. What's even more of a shame is that I think this particular album, which nobody knows about because, and I blame that primarily on their record label, who didn't really promote them very well, didn't really have the albums available in places they were playing, and didn't really continue to help develop the group. Like, didn't do another album with them. Like, this is a great album. It's just a shame that somebody didn't hear that and take this on and do something with it. Just a shame. It's a shame. It's what it is. But nevertheless, it's a great album. Certainly as good as anything from that time period, from this genre, the similar type bands. Styx, ELO, Kansas, even some of that early Journey stuff. This album is as good as the Journey album that we did at the beginning of Ben's Album Challenge, the first one. Definitely there's some similarities between the two. I think this is much better album, much more cohesive, much more the production on here I think is really good. The lyrics I think are better. The song flows better. There's more use of the entire band. The instrumentation is more orchestrated or put together well. But it's very similar. The only difference in Journey, the guy on Journey, the guitar player on Journey and the drummer on Journey were more dominating than they were on this album. The guitar player is probably the front guy here, like the main guy, but I don't think he's as out front as Nick Schoen was on the Journey album. So, but the album I think is better put together in a lot of ways. So if you like that first Journey album, you will probably like this too. I actually love this album. I think it's a great album. It went on my list right away after I heard it the first time, and then I listened to it twice more. The second time when I came home tonight, and then the third time when I did this up. Yeah, just a fantastic album. I don't know, I can't praise it enough. I can't really find any fault with it. I really can't. I can't think of anything about it that I don't like. Even the cover is nice. It's a nice, solid cover. The only negative for this whole thing is that it's a one-off shot. Like they didn't do anything else. It's just a shame. So at any rate, but we're not here to talk about what didn't happen. We're here to talk about what did happen. And what happened is they produced a wonderful album, and unfortunately they didn't get kind of noticed, and they weren't managed well, and the band broke up the next year. But they produced a solid album, one that I'm going to do my best to try to get my hands on if I can, because I think I'm not generally a person that likes American progressive rock, other than Styx, who I don't really consider a full progressive rock band. They have other elements in their music, that the hard rock elements, the arena rock elements, the vocals and the harmonies and stuff. Whereas for me, I'm not a huge fan of American progressive rock. And I think it's primarily because it comes from more of a jazz influence as opposed to the British, which are more of a classical bass. But anyways, this is great. It's a great album. I recommend it. I hope you liked this video. We'll be back again next week, because we're doing this now weekly. The show has now become a weekly show because I enjoy it so much, and I think Ben likes it a lot. And now that I'm not doing the Friday night live experience, at least until the spring, I have more time, which is good. And so we'll be giving these albums their due, right? So we'll be back next week with yet another album. It hasn't been determined yet what that will be, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated, and we'll be back next Sunday night with another Ben's Album Challenge. So take care. Bye.